Hi, I'm Daniel Foley, author of 7 Dates with Jesus, Crossing Over into Abundant Life. In this video, I want to talk to you about the yearly cycle. So the yearly cycle is a gift that God has given you that you can use to propel your life forward every year. But at the same time, if you don't know how to use this cycle, it's actually going to send your life backwards every year. And so we have to understand how to operate this yearly cycle if you want to continually propel your life forward on a yearly basis. Like I said, this is something I go over in a little more detail in the book 7 Dates with Jesus. But the gist of that book is that there are 7 biblical feast days that happen on a yearly cycle. Okay, so you have things like Passover and unleavened bread and first fruits, which happen in the spring every year, right around April time usually. Then you have the Feast of Pentecost, which happens usually in the end of May, early June every year. And then you have 3 feasts that go together, which are the Feast of Trumpets, Day of Atonement, Feast of Tabernacles, which happen in the fall every year. And so these feasts, Bible says that the sun, the moon, the stars will be used for signs and for seasons. So these feasts serve as markers throughout the year to give you some kind of deadlines, to give you some set reminders on a yearly basis. So for example, in the springtime, you have set reminders to remember that Jesus is your Passover lamb, that he set you free. You have a reminder that he is your righteousness, that he is your unleavened bread, that he made you righteous. You have a reminder that Jesus is the first fruits and that the Spirit of Jesus has been planted in your heart. So you have days set aside every year to remember those things. Okay? At Pentecost, as a reminder that you have the Holy Spirit to teach you everything that you need to know. You have the Feast of Trumpets, which is a sign of the resurrection to symbolize your new resurrected life that you live in Christ. You have the Day of Atonement to remember that Jesus is your high priest. You have the Feast of Tabernacles to remember that he's always tabernacling with you. He's never going to leave you nor forsake you. So you have built-in reminders, kind of like holidays, like 4th of July, things like that, where we have times where we remember things that have happened in the past. Well, you have built-in reminders on a yearly basis to remember what Jesus has done for you. Okay, so think about this. If you took a whole day to remember that Jesus has set you free, so to speak, what would that do for your life every year as far as propelling you forward? But this yearly cycle, these feast days are the markers for when we change seasons every year, okay? So the feast days are the markers. So spring season, so when we start Passover time, spring season is a reminder. It's time to go in and do some spring cleaning. Clean out your house, clean out your car, clean out your schedule, clean out whatever needs to be cleaned out. Clean out your nutrition. We focus in the gym on cleaning up people's movements, getting back to the basics, making sure the foundations are in place. So as we approach springtime, the last maybe 40 days or so before we get into Passover, it's a time of getting everything prepared, getting everything cleaned out, and getting the basics put in place. Because in the Bible, foundations are always laid in the second month. So month of February, think about that we want to get the basics in place, make sure the foundations are good as we get into the spring, everything is cleaned out and ready, because the springtime is the time for new. Spring, everything comes back new every spring. It's the time to sow your seed, so to speak. So a lot of times God will open a door for you in the springtime, and you will have a choice. It will require faith to go through that door. And I'll give you some examples here once I get through these. But you will have a chance to sow a seed of something new in your life. Okay? He will open a door for you, but you have a choice as to whether or not you want to go through. It's going to require faith to go through that door. A lot of times, the thing that's going to stop you from going through that door is fear. Okay? Your fears are going to keep you from going through that door. Maybe you don't have the money, maybe it's going to get you out of your comfort zone, whatever it may be. You're going to have a chance to go through an open door, but it's going to require you to sow a seed in faith. Okay? It's also the time, Bible talks about in the Old Testament, springtime is the time when kings go to battle. So expect some warfare, so to speak. Expect some opposition, so to speak, in the springtime. Okay? Next thing, in the summer. Summer is the time to cultivate your crops. It's the time to protect and to cultivate your crops. So you need to be watering your crops daily. You need to be pulling the weeds and protecting them from pests, so to speak. It's a time to refine your garden, to cultivate what you've been working on. So whatever the seed was that you sowed here, this is the time to be cultivating that, so to speak. And like I said, I'll give you an example of how all this ties together here in a minute. In the fall is the time of harvest. Okay, so whatever you've sown, whatever you have cultivated, now is the time to harvest. It's a time of joy if you followed this process. If you haven't sown anything and you haven't cultivated anything, it's a time of sorrow because you have nothing to harvest, so to speak. It's also a time to sit down and reflect on the previous year and to set some plans and some goals for the upcoming year. A lot of times this will be a time of transition. A lot of major life change occurs in the fall typically, okay? Change in jobs, moving to different houses, moving to different locations. A lot of times another open door will happen here at this time as well. Again, this will be kind of like your big yearly test. Are you going to go through that door? It's going to require faith for you to go through that door. As we get into the winter time, now it's time to put all the finishing touches on whatever you've been working on. It's time to automate, take things to the next level, get your habits in place, and also a time to get more clarity and to prepare for the next spring. As we approach the end of the winter time, it's a time to get the ground ready to be prepared to sow for the next season. So these are some of the things that you can expect that you need to be doing throughout the year. Like I said, if you've followed this process, you've sown your seed, you've cultivated it, you've harvested it, and you've kind of automated things, got the details ready, and you can transition into the next level. We start the year at a higher level, ready to sow the next seed. Okay, so think about a farmer. If he does a good job and he has good crops every year he starts to prosper more and more, and he starts to become more prosperous with every year that he does this. Now, one of the other things this cycle does is it gives you some built-in deadlines throughout the year. So, for example, you'll see in the Bible the Apostle Paul says, hey, I was in a hurry to get back to Jerusalem before the day of Pentecost. So this will give you some deadlines. For example, when I was working on my book, 7 Dates with Jesus, I knew when the fall feasts were coming up, and I had been directed by God. I needed to get the book done and out and published by the fall of that year. By the time the feast hit, when the fall started, I needed to have the book done. Okay, so you have some deadlines. For example, in the springtime, by Passover, there's some things that you need to have done, you need to have ready, you need to have completed, you need to have ready to go. You need to have things cleaned out, the basics in place, and it's time to sow the seed for the next level. So you've got some built-in deadlines, which adds a little bit of pressure, which is good. Okay, so think about your body. If your blood pressure is 0, you are not alive. It's good to have a little bit of pressure on the body. So these feast days will serve to put a little bit of pressure on you, to give you some deadlines to make sure that you're staying on track and that you're getting things done. So let's talk about what this looks like. So one year last year, I had an opportunity to sow a seed to invest in the infrastructure to hold my books and some online courses and all my teaching material and to be able to sell the products. It required some faith for me to go through that door. I went through the door. All summer I spent cultivating. We were editing the book. We were creating an online course, getting all kinds of content created for our health and fitness programs, all about having abundant health. We spent shooting video every day over the course of the summer. Okay, for probably 90 days, I shot video every single day for over 90 days. Cultivating and refining and putting it all together, writing all the worksheets. At the same time, we're editing the book, getting it all ready, getting it ready to be published. In the fall, we start to harvest that. We start to make the book available, start to make it for sale. We start to make the online course available and for sale. Then we begin to make plans on, all right, what are we going to need to be working on next? Okay, as we kind of transition into the next phase here, so to speak. Then during the wintertime, we work on getting all the little details. We were selling the online course, and with the book, there's a lot of little details. Getting reviews on Amazon, getting blog posts created, getting all the book descriptions written, all that kind of stuff. On the online course, getting all the sales pages ready, getting all the marketing ready, getting everything ready to go, and then getting it to the point where it's automated, where it's selling on its own all the time. Okay? And that's the goal of the wintertime, is to get all those details in place, get everything automated so that it's up and running on its own, so that in the next year we can start to focus on the things for the next level, so to speak. It's also during the time, like I said, to get some clarity and to prepare for the next spring, so to speak. And all the time we got these deadlines kind of in place, but this is a way to propel your life to the next level every year and to create a little more order in your life on a yearly basis, because you have some built-in reminders every year to make sure that you are staying on track. Okay, and that's the big thing, is you have built-in reminders every year to make sure that you are staying on track. Now, if you want to learn more about this, check out the book, 7 Dates with Jesus. You can find it on Amazon. It's got a lot more about each of these feast days and the feast seasons that will go into much more detail on those things. But check it out. I think you'll enjoy what's in there, and you'll learn a lot more about this yearly cycle.